Hi there. Tonight we step into the rugged life of a Paleolithic caveman, where every sunrise feels like a gritty gift. Picture yourself curled on a bed of dry ferns, the air sharp with frost, as a faint glow creeps into your cave. Your stomach grumbles, and a distant wolf howl reminds you the world outside is no picnic. Honestly, you probably would not survive a week in this Stone Age hustle, but let us try anyway. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I love knowing where you are all drifting off from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let us ease into tonight's journey together. You blink awake, the cave's damp chill seeping into your bones. Your bed, if you can call it that, is a pile of ferns and animal hides, scratchy but warm enough to keep you from freezing. The air smells of earth and last night's fire, a faint smoky tang clinging to everything. You stretch, your joints creaking like an old wooden chair, and peer out at the world beyond the cave's mouth. The sky is a pale bruise, just shy of dawn, and the valley below is cloaked in mist. Somewhere out there, breakfast is hiding, but it is not exactly waiting for you with a smile. Your cave is less a home and more a rocky nook carved into a limestone cliff. It is cozy in a brutal sort of way, with blackened walls from countless fires and a scattering of flint chips from yesterday's tool-making. You share this space with a dozen others, a ragtag family of hunters, gatherers, and one perpetually grumpy elder who snores like a landslide. Everyone is stirring now, coughing and muttering as the day begins. You grab a hide wrap, something like a prehistoric poncho, and sling it over your shoulders. It smells faintly of the deer it came from, but you are used to that by now. Stepping outside, you feel the cold bite your bare feet. The ground is a mix of gravel and frost, and you wince as a sharp pebble digs into your heel. The valley stretches out, a patchwork of dense forest and open grassland, with a lazy river glinting. In the distance, you spot a few early birds, actual birds, flitting between pines, and their chirps are the only sound besides your own breathing. Historians still argue whether early humans lived in caves year-round or just used them as seasonal shelters, but right now, this is your world, and it feels permanent. You take a moment to scan the horizon. No saber-toothed cats lurking, at least not yet, which is a win. A quirky tidbit from the archaeological record: some caves in Europe show signs of early interior decorating, with shells and bones arranged in patterns, almost like prehistoric art galleries. Your cave has no such flair, unless you count the random stick one of the kids keeps dragging in. You smirk, imagining explaining to a toddler why sticks are not toys when a spear is your lifeline. Your first task is to get your bearings. The sun is just peeking over the hills, casting long shadows that make every bush look like a crouching predator. You are not paranoid, just practical. Life here demands constant vigilance. You trudge toward a small stream nearby, its gurgle a familiar comfort. The water is icy, but you kneel and splash your face, the shock waking you fully. Your reflection stares back, wild hair and a smudge of dirt on your cheek. A far cry from the polished folks of your viewer's world. You chuckle softly, wondering what a modern barber would make of your matted locks. The mainstream fact of the day: caves like yours were often chosen for their south-facing entrances, catching sunlight to warm the interior. It is not exactly central heating, but it keeps you from turning into a human popsicle. You stand, shake off the water, and head back toward the cave. Your group is up now, some poking at the fire's embers, others gnawing on leftover roots. The day is young, and there is work to do, but for now, you savor the quiet. A joke to keep you cozy. Why did the caveman sleep so close to the fire? Because he wanted to be the little spoon. You grin, ready to face whatever this ancient morning throws at you. You trudge back to the cave, your feet still tingling from the stream's icy kiss. The morning air is crisp, carrying a faint whiff of pine and damp earth. Your group is fully awake now, a low hum of grunts and murmurs filling the cave as everyone starts their day. You notice the elder, still wrapped in his furs, glaring at a kid who is poking the fire with a stick. You smirk, remembering that stick from yesterday. It is practically a family heirloom at this point. Your stomach rumbles, but food can wait. First, you need to deal with the daily ritual of looking halfway presentable, or at least less like. You wrestled a boar in your sleep. Hygiene in the Paleolithic is not exactly a spa day. You grab a small stick, its end frayed from use, and start scrubbing your teeth. The taste is woody and bitter, but it beats the fuzzy feeling of last night's meal lingering. You dip your fingers into a clay bowl filled with ash from the fire, rubbing it over your hands and arms. The ash cuts through the grime, leaving your skin slightly gritty but cleaner. A quirky tidbit: some archaeologists found evidence of early humans using red ochre as a sort of prehistoric makeup, maybe to look fierce or just to feel fabulous. You are not that fancy, but you do splash more stream water on your face, wincing at the cold. Your hair is another story. It is a tangled mess, matted with dirt and bits of leaf from your fern bed. You rake your fingers through it, pulling out the worst knots, and consider a drastic solution. Nearby, one of the women is slicing a hide with a flint blade, her cuts precise despite the tool's crudeness. You borrow a similar blade, its edge sharp enough to sting your thumb, and hack at the most stubborn tangles. Strands fall to the cave floor, and you feel oddly lighter. Historians still argue whether early humans cut their hair for practicality, or some social signal, like showing off their status. For you, it is just about not tripping over your own locks. The mainstream fact: dental wear on ancient skeletons shows they chewed on tough plants and bones, which naturally scraped plaque away. No toothpaste needed, just a diet that doubles as a toothbrush. You rinse your mouth with a swig of water, spitting it onto the cave floor, and catch the elder's disapproving squint. You shrug, flashing a grin, and he huffs, turning back to his furs. The cave is bustling now, with some folks sorting flint tools and others gnawing on dried meat. You spot a kid smearing ash on his face, mimicking you, and you chuckle. Why did the caveman use ash to clean? Because soap was 30,000 years out of stock. Your wrap is starting to smell, a ripe mix of sweat and deer hide. You shake it out, dislodging a cloud of dust, and drape it back over your shoulders. The hide is stiff but warm, and you are grateful for the animal that provided it. You step outside again, the sun now fully up, painting the valley in gold. A breeze rustles the trees, and you catch a faint scent of wildflowers. Your group relies on everyone pitching in, and hygiene, as basic as it is, keeps you from driving each other nuts in this cramped cave. You notice a younger man scraping his beard with a flint shard, wincing as he nicks his chin. You offer a sympathetic nod, remembering your own closed shaves. The process is slow, deliberate, almost meditative. You kneel by the stream again, this time washing your feet, the cold water soothing the aches from yesterday's trek. A bird swoops low, its wings a soft whoosh, and you pause to watch it vanish into the forest. Life here is raw, every task grounded in survival, but there is a strange calm in these routines. You stand, flicking water from your hands, and head back to the cave. The others are moving with purpose now, some gathering tools, others whispering about a hunt. You feel ready, or at least as ready as you will ever be, to face the day's demands. One last joke to ease you along. What do cavemen call a bad hair day? A mammoth tangle. You step into the cave, the air thick with the scent of smoke and damp stone. Your freshly scrubbed skin feels raw but alive, and you are ready to tackle the next task, finding something to eat. Your stomach is not just rumbling now, it is staging a full-on protest. The cave is a hive of activity, with your group sorting tools and muttering plans, but you zero in on a corner where last night's meal scraps are piled. Breakfast in the Paleolithic is not a leisurely affair with coffee and toast, it is a scavenger hunt for whatever nature and yesterday's hunt left behind. You crouch by the pile, sifting through bones and wilted leaves, hoping for a lucky find. The pickings are slim, a few marrow-streaked bones and a handful of berries that look suspiciously squashed. You grab a rock and crack a bone open, scooping out the fatty marrow with your fingers. It is greasy, with a faint gamey tang, but it fills the void in your gut. The berries are tart, some bursting as you pop them into your mouth, their juice staining your lips. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found ancient berry seeds stuck in the teeth of Neanderthal skeletons, proof that even your tough cousins had a soft spot for fruit. You chew slowly, savoring the mix of sweet and sour, and glance around to make sure no one is eyeing your stash. The mainstream fact: early humans were omnivores, relying on a mix of plants and meat, with diets shifting based on the season. Right now, spring is barely unfolding, so plants are scarce. And you are grateful for these berries, even if they are half bruised. You notice a kid nearby, eyeing your meal with the intensity of a hawk. You toss him a berry, and he catches it mid-air, grinning like he just won a prize. You chuckle, remembering how you used to beg for scraps at his age. Why did the caveman share his berries? Because a happy kid is less likely to steal your spear. Foraging is not just about what is in the cave. You need to venture out. You grab a woven grass basket, its edges fraying but still sturdy, and head toward the valley. The sun is climbing, warming your shoulders as you weave through tall grasses. You scan the ground for edible plants, spotting a patch of wild sorrel. Its lemony leaves are a rare treat, and you pluck them carefully, avoiding the thorny weeds. Nearby, the forest hums with life, insects buzzing and a distant bird calling, but you stay focused. One wrong plant could leave you clutching your stomach for days, and you are not keen on testing that theory. Historians still argue whether early humans had detailed knowledge of local plants, or learned through risky trial and error. You like to think your group is smarter than that, passing down tips from elders who survived their own bad choices. You spot a cluster of dandelion roots, their bitterness a small price to pay for the energy they offer. Digging them up with a stick, you brush off the dirt and toss them into your basket. The work is slow, your knees aching from crouching, but there is a rhythm to it, a quiet focus that steadies your mind. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, the valley stretching out like a living map. A deer darts through the trees, too fast to chase, and you sigh, wishing you had brought a spear. Back at the cave, you will share what you find, but for now, you munch on a sorrel leaf, its sharp taste waking you up. The kid from earlier would probably trade his stick for a bite of this, you think, smirking. Another joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad foraging day? A real thorn in the side. Your basket is half full, a decent haul for a morning's work. You sling it over your shoulder and start back, the grass swishing against your legs. The cave is not far, but you take your time, soaking in the morning's calm. You are already thinking about the fire you will build later, maybe roasting those dandelion roots if the hunters come back empty-handed. For now, you are content. Your hunger dulled and your hands busy. The day is young, and there is plenty more to do. You amble back to the cave, your grass basket swinging with sorrel and dandelion roots. The sun is higher now, warming the valley, and the air buzzes with the faint drone of insects. Your stomach is quieter, thanks to those berries and marrow, but the day's work is just starting. You spot a flat rock near the cave entrance, its surface scarred from countless tool-making sessions, and settle down with a pile of flint chunks. Sharpening tools is not glamorous, but a dull spear is about as useful as a soggy hide. You pick up a smooth river stone, your makeshift hammer, and get to work, the rhythmic clink of stone on stone filling the air. Each flint chunk is a puzzle, its glassy edges hiding the perfect blade if you strike it right. You angle the stone, tapping carefully, and a sharp flake pops off, glinting in the sunlight. It is small but wickedly sharp, ideal for scraping hides or slicing roots. You set it aside and start on another, your fingers already dusted with fine grit. A quirky tidbit: some archaeologists found flint tools so finely crafted they might have been status symbols, like the Paleolithic equivalent of a designer watch. Your tools are more practical, but you take pride in a clean edge, even if it means a few nicks on your knuckles. The mainstream fact: flint knapping was a cornerstone of early human survival, with sites across Africa and Europe showing tool-making traditions stretching back over 2 million years. You glance at your growing pile of flakes, some too small to use but others perfect for cutting. A spark flies from a bad strike, and you flinch, muttering under your breath. Why did the caveman flinch at sparks? Because he knew fire was a lousy barber. You smirk, brushing the grit from your hands, and refocus. The cave is busy now, with some folks sorting foraged greens and others dragging in firewood. You catch the elder's eye, and he nods approvingly at your work, a rare win. The process is slow, almost hypnotic, each strike sending a soft vibration through your hands. You experiment with a larger flint, aiming for a spearhead, but it cracks in half, useless. You sigh, tossing it aside, and grab another. Historians still argue whether tool-making was taught through mimicry or spoken instructions, but you learned by watching your uncle, his patience outlasting your clumsy first attempts. You can almost hear his gruff voice now, telling you to strike with confidence, not force. The memory steadies you, and your next flake comes off cleanly, its edge like a razor. A kid wanders over, the same one who snagged your berry earlier, and watches with wide eyes. You hand him a small flake, warning him not to cut himself, and he scampers off, clutching it like a treasure. You shake your head, hoping he does not turn it into a toy like that infernal stick. The sun is climbing, and the valley hums with life, a distant bird call echoing off the cliffs. You pause to stretch, your shoulders aching from hunching, and notice a faint breeze carrying the scent of pine. It is a good day for work, clear and bright, but you keep an eye on the horizon, always watching for trouble. Your pile of usable flakes is respectable now, enough for a few knives and maybe a scraper. You sweep the debris into a corner, where it will be picked over later for smaller tools. The rock is warm under you, soaking up the sun, and you feel a quiet satisfaction. Toolmaking is not just about survival. It is about control, shaping the world to fit your needs. You stand, dusting off your hide wrap, and glance at the cave. The hunters are gathering, their low voices buzzing with plans. You will join them soon, but for now, one last joke. What do cavemen call a perfect flint blade? A real cut above the rest. You brush the flint dust from your hands, your pile of freshly chipped blades gleaming in the sunlight. The cave hums with purpose, and you notice a group of hunters clustering near the entrance, their voices low and urgent. You stow your tools and join them, your pulse quickening at the thought of a hunt. The air is warm now, carrying the earthy scent of grass and distant water. The hunters, a mix of wiry men and women, are debating today's target, their hands gesturing toward the valley. A mammoth was spotted yesterday, its massive bulk a tempting prize, but also a risky one. You listen closely, weighing the plan to chase it down. The leader, a scarred woman with a sharp gaze, outlines the strategy. You will track the mammoth to a narrow ravine where it can be cornered with spears and traps. Your role is to flank the group, ready to drive the beast with shouts and thrown stones if it bolts. You nod, gripping a spear you sharpened yesterday, its flint tip still pristine. A quirky tidbit: some Paleolithic hunters painted their spears with red ochre, possibly for luck or to mark their kills. Your spear is plain, but you trust its balance, honed from countless throws. You heft it, feeling its weight, and hope luck is on your side today. The mainstream fact: mammoth hunts were rare but critical, providing meat, hides, and bones for months. A single kill could feed your group through lean times, but failure might mean injury or worse. You glance at the others, their faces set with determination, though a younger hunter fidgets nervously. You offer a reassuring grin, remembering your first hunt, when your knees shook so hard you nearly dropped your spear. Why did the caveman join the hunt? Because an empty stomach is a lousy motivator. You chuckle softly, easing the tension, and the group starts moving. Fanning out toward the valley, you trek downhill, the grass swishing against your legs, and keep your eyes on the leader's signals. The plan hinges on stealth, so you step lightly, avoiding dry twigs that might snap. The valley is alive, with birds flitting overhead and a distant deer bounding through the trees. You spot mammoth tracks, deep and wide, pressed into the muddy riverbank. The beast is close, and your heart thuds, a mix of fear and thrill. Historians still argue whether early humans hunted mammoths solo or in coordinated groups, but your band works like a single mind, each person knowing their place. The ravine is not far, its rocky walls a natural trap if you can steer the mammoth right. You crouch behind a boulder, scanning for movement, and catch a glimpse of the beast's shaggy bulk grazing in a clearing. It is enormous, its tusks gleaming like curved moons, and you swallow hard, wondering if your spear can even pierce its hide. The leader signals to wait, her hands steady, and you breathe slowly, calming your nerves. You think back to the cave, to the elders' stories of hunts gone wrong, and vow to stay sharp. That kid with the stick would probably cheer you on now. You muse, smirking. The group spreads out, forming a loose arc to herd the mammoth. You grip your spear tighter, the wood warm in your palm, and ready yourself for the signal. The air is thick with tension, every rustle amplified. A joke to keep you steady. What do cavemen call a mammoth hunt? a really big deal. You shift your weight, eyes locked on the beast, and wait for the moment to strike. The hunt is on, and there is no turning back now. You feel alive, every sense razor sharp, as the valley holds its breath. You crouch behind the boulder, your spear's weight steady in your hand, as the mammoth grazes in the clearing. Its snuffling breaths are loud, like gusts through a cave, and you feel the ground tremble faintly under its bulk. The hunters are in position, a silent arc of bodies blending into the valleys, grasses, and rocks. The leader's eyes are fixed on the beast, her hand poised for the signal. You scan the mammoth's path, noting the trampled ferns and churned mud leading toward the ravine. Your job now is to track its trail, ensuring it moves where you want without bolting into the open. You ease forward, staying low, the scent of crushed plants sharp in your nose. The trail is clear, deep hoofprints sinking into the soft earth, each one wide enough to fit your foot. You follow them, moving parallel to the mammoth your steps, muffled by the grass. The forest is dense here, pines and oaks casting dappled shadows that hide you well. You spot broken twigs and tufts of woolly fur caught on thorns, clues the mammoth is unaware of your group. A quirky tidbit. Archaeologists have found mammoth bones with spear marks so precise they suggest hunters targeted weak spots, like joints or the belly. You grip your spear, imagining where you might aim if it comes to that, and pray your aim is true. The mainstream fact: tracking was a vital skill for Paleolithic hunters, with some sites showing human footprints alongside animal trails preserved in ancient mud. You pause to examine a print, its edges still damp, and estimate the mammoth is moving slowly, grazing as it goes. A good sign, it means the beast is not spooked. You catch a glimpse of another hunter, her face streaked with dirt, mirroring your path on the opposite side. You nod, a silent check-in, and keep moving. Why did the caveman track so quietly? Because nobody wants to be the mammoth's wake-up call. You smirk, the joke easing your nerves, and refocus on the trail. The ravine is close now, its rocky walls looming through the trees. You hear the faint trickle of a stream, a sound that masks your footsteps but also makes you wary of slippery ground. Historians still argue whether early humans used landscapes like ravines deliberately or stumbled into them during hunts.
Your
group planned this, though, picking the spot for its natural trap. You spot fresh dung, still steaming, and wrinkle your nose, but it is another clue the mammoth is near. You signal to the leader with a low whistle, mimicking a bird, and she adjusts the group's arc, tightening the net around the beast. You move faster now, the trail veering toward the ravine's mouth. The mammoth is visible, its massive head swaying as it tears at a bush. Your heart pounds, but you force your breathing to slow, staying calm. You think back to the cave, to the elders' tales of hunts where trackers saved the day or doomed it with a single misstep. That kid with the berry would probably be trailing you now, tripping over roots. You muse, grinning. The forest thins, and you hug the shadows, your spear ready, a joke to keep you loose. What do cavemen call a good trail? A path to a full belly. The mammoth pauses, lifting its trunk to sniff the air, and you freeze, barely breathing. It does not see you, and after a moment, it lumbers on, closer to the ravine. You creep forward, eyes locked on its path, every sense tuned to the hunt. The valley feels alive, watching as you and your group close in. The trail is your guide, and you trust it, step by careful step, toward the moment that will decide the day. You ease along the mammoth's trail, the beast's hulking form now lumbering closer to the ravine's mouth. The air is thick with the scent of pine and churned earth, and your spear feels like an extension of your arm, ready but heavy. The hunters are poised, their silhouettes barely visible in the dappled forest light. The leader signals to hold, her eyes locked on the mammoth, but your task is different. You slip away from the main group, moving toward a patch of dense vines and boulders. Your job is to set traps, simple but clever snares to slow the mammoth if it tries to escape the ravine. You crouch low, your hands already working, the valley's quiet hum urging you to hurry. You grab a coil of twisted vines, their fibers rough but strong, and loop them around a sturdy tree. The idea is to create a tripping hazard, not to stop the mammoth outright, just to throw it off balance for a crucial moment. You anchor the vine with a heavy stone, its weight sinking into the soft soil. A quirky tidbit: some archaeological sites show evidence of early humans using pit traps lined with sharpened stakes. Though your group prefers less lethal snares to avoid wasting a good spear, you test the vine's tension, satisfied it will hold, and move to set another, weaving it between two boulders like a prehistoric tripwire. The mainstream fact: traps were a game-changer for early hunters, allowing smaller groups to tackle massive prey like mammoths with less risk. You glance at the ravine where the mammoth is grazing, oblivious to the net tightening around it. Your traps are a backup, but they could mean the difference between a feast and a long, hungry walk home. You work quickly, your fingers nimble, despite the calluses, and hum a soft tune to keep your nerves steady. Why did the caveman set traps? Because chasing a mammoth is a lousy cardio plan. You grin, the joke cutting through the tension, and tie off another vine. Historians still argue whether traps were planned in advance or improvised on the hunt. But your group always scouts the land first, picking spots like this ravine for their natural choke points. You remember the elders' stories of a botched hunt where a poorly tied snare snapped and cost the group a boar. You double-check your knots, tugging hard, and nod when they hold firm. The forest is quiet, save for the mammoth's distant snorts and the faint rustle of leaves. You spot another hunter setting a similar trap across the ravine, her movements mirroring yours, and you exchange a quick wave, a silent wish for luck. You move to a final spot, a narrow gap where the mammoth might try to bolt. You pile loose stones into a low barrier, not enough to stop it, but enough to make it stumble. Sweat beads on your brow, and you wipe it away. The valley's warmth, now a steady pulse against your skin. You think back to the cave, to that kid who keeps dragging in sticks, and wonder if he would be any good at tying vines. Probably not, you muse, chuckling. A joke to keep you grounded. What do cavemen call a bad trap? A mammoth's new toy. The traps are set, and you slip back toward the group, staying low to avoid spooking the mammoth. The leader catches your eye and nods, a signal that everything is ready. You take your place behind a tree, spear in hand, and watch the mammoth shuffle closer to the ravine. Your traps are hidden, blending into the forest floor, and you feel a flicker of pride. The hunt is moments away, and your work could tip the scales. You breathe deeply, the scent of vines and stone filling your lungs, and brace for what comes next. You melt back into the group, your traps set and the mammoth teetering closer to the ravine's jaws. The air hums with tension, the valley sounds muffled as if holding its breath. Your spear is slick with sweat, but you grip it tightly. Crouched behind a gnarled tree, the hunters are silent, their eyes darting between the leader and the beast, its shaggy bulk now grazing at the ravine's edge. The morning hunt is on hold, and now it is time for practice, honing your aim before the real throw. You slip away to a nearby clearing, where the group has set up a makeshift target, a bundle of hides tied to a stump. Scarred from countless spear thrusts, you heft your spear, its balance familiar, and take a stance, feet planted in the soft earth. The clearing is quiet, save for the distant snort of the mammoth and a faint breeze rustling the pines. You aim at the target, imagining it as the mammoth's flank, and hurl the spear with a smooth arc. It thuds into the hides, a solid hit, but offset later. You grimace, retrieving it, and try again, adjusting your grip. A quirky tidbit: some Paleolithic spear tips were found with traces of resin used to glue them to shafts, showing early humans were crafty engineers. Your spear is simpler, bound with sinew, but it does the job when your aim is true. The mainstream fact: spear throwing was a critical skill, with evidence of specialized tools like otlotls, which extended range and power, appearing in some regions by 20,000 years ago. Your group does not use those yet, relying on raw strength and practice. You throw again, the spear striking closer to the mark, and feel a flicker of satisfaction. Another hunter, a lanky man with a crooked grin, takes his turn, his spear wobbling, but hitting the edge. You clap his shoulder, teasing his shaky aim, and he laughs, promising to outthrow you next time. Why did the caveman practice spears? Because missing a mammoth is a long walk home. You take another shot, your muscles warming with each throw, the rhythm almost meditative. The target sways slightly, its hides fraying, and you picture the mammoth's tough hide, wondering if your spear can pierce it. Historians still argue whether early hunters trained daily or only before big hunts. But your group drills whenever there is time, knowing a weak throw could mean hunger. You remember the elders' tales of a hunter who missed a boar and earned a week of teasing, and you vow not to be that story. The clearing feels like a small sanctuary, a place to focus before the chaos of the hunt. A kid, not the stick-dragging one, but another with a mop of wild hair, watches from the sidelines, mimicking your stance with a twig. You toss him a playful glare, warning him not to throw it, and he giggles, scampering off. The valley is bright now, the sun high, casting sharp shadows across the grass. You retrieve your spear, wiping sweat from your brow, and notice the other hunters finishing their rounds. The leader calls you back, her voice low but firm, and you jog to rejoin the group, spear ready. A joke to keep you light. What do call a bad throw? A spiritual crisis. You slip back into position, the mammoth still grazing, unaware of the trap closing in. Your practice has sharpened your focus, and you feel the weight of the hunt settling in. The ravine looms, your traps hidden in its shadows, and the group is poised, waiting for the signal. You glance at the lanky hunter, who winks, his earlier wobble forgotten. The valley pulses with life, and you are part of it, every sense tuned to the moment. Your spear is an old friend now, and you are ready to test it for real. You ease back into the group, your spear warm from practice, its tip still sharp despite the morning's drills. The mammoth is closer to the ravine now, its trunk lazily pulling at a patch of tall grass, oblivious to the hunter's silent arc. The valley's heat is rising, sweat prickling your skin, but the hunt waits. You slip away from the ravine, heading toward a sunny meadow dotted with wildflowers. Your task now is to gather wild greens, a job less thrilling than spearing a mammoth, but just as vital. Your basket, still holding those dandelion roots from earlier, swings at your side as you scan the ground for edible plants. The meadow is a riot of color, purples and yellows swaying in the breeze, but you are picky. Not every plant is a friend. Some will leave you doubled over, clutching your gut. You spot a cluster of lambs, quarters, their dusty leaves a safe bet, and kneel to pluck them, your fingers brushing against the warm earth. A quirky tidbit. Archaeologists have found ancient grinding stones with traces of wild greens, suggesting early humans processed plants into pastes for easier eating. You stuff the leaves into your basket, their faint earthy smell mixing with the valley's grassy tents, and keep searching, eyes sharp for more. The mainstream fact: plant gathering provided up to half the calories for many Paleolithic groups, especially in spring when game was lean. You find a patch of purslane, its juicy stems a rare treat, and snap them up, grateful for the moisture they hold. A bee buzzes past, and you freeze, not keen on a sting, then relax as it drifts off. Why? Did the cavemen gather greens? Because even hunters need their veggies. You smirk, tossing another handful into the basket, and glance back toward the ravine, where the hunters are still poised, their shapes blending into the trees. You move deeper into the meadow, the sun hot on your shoulders, and spot wild garlic, its pungent bulbs a prize worth digging for. You use a stick to pry them from the soil, their sharp scent making your eyes water. Historians still argue whether early humans seasoned their food or ate plants purely for survival. But you know a good bulb can make even tough meat taste better. You think back to the cave, to the kid who snatched your berry, and bet he would wrinkle his nose at garlic. Probably still waving that stick around, you muse, chuckling softly as you tuck the bulbs away. The basket is filling, but you take your time, savoring the meadow's calm. A butterfly flutters by, its wings a flash of blue, and you pause to watch, the hunt's tension fading for a moment. You spot clover, its tender leaves good for chewing, and add a handful, brushing dirt from your hands. The work is steady, grounding, a reminder that survival is not all spears and traps. Another hunter joins you briefly, her own basket half full, and you trade tips on spotting the best plants. Your voice is low to avoid startling nearby game, a joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a good foraging haul? A salad bar jackpot. You stand, stretching your back, and sling the basket over your shoulder. The meadow stretches out, vibrant and alive, but you know the hunt will call you back soon. For now, you head toward the cave, your greens a small victory against the day's hunger. The valley hums, and you feel its rhythm, each step a quiet promise to keep going, to keep providing, no matter what the hunt brings. You trudge back toward the cave, your basket heavy with lambs, quarters, purslane, and those pungent garlic bulbs. The meadow's warmth lingers on your skin, but the valley's breeze carries a hint of smoke, a sign the cave's fire is being stoked. The hunt is still unfolding at the ravine, but your greens need tending, and someone has to keep the group fed if the mammoth escapes. You reach the cave's entrance and spot a small fire pit, its embers glowing red under a pile of fresh twigs. Cooking is next, a slow, smoky task that turns tough meat and bitter plants into something worth eating. You set your basket down and get to work, the scent of charred wood already soothing your senses. You drag a flat stone closer to the fire, its surface blackened from past meals, and lay out a hare one of the younger hunters snared yesterday. The meat is lean, its skin already scraped clean, and you slice it with a flint knife, the blade gliding through with practiced ease. A quirky tidbit: Archaeologists have found scorched bones with cut marks, suggesting early humans roasted meat over open flames rather than boiling it, as pots were still millennia away. You skewer the hair on a green stick, propping it over the embers, and toss some of your wild garlic bulbs into the coals, their sharp aroma rising as they char. The mainstream fact: cooking was a revolutionary step for early humans, making food easier to digest and unlocking more nutrients, which some say fueled brain growth. You watch the hair sizzle, turning it to keep the flames from burning it black. The garlic bulbs soften, their skins splitting, and you crush one with a stone, mixing it with purslane to make a rough paste. Why did the caveman cook his meat? Because raw hair is a tough sell, even for a hungry gut. You grin, the fires, warmth kissing your face, and add a handful of lamb's quarters to the stone, letting them wilt in the heat. The cave is quieter now, most of the group still at the ravine or out foraging. You spot the elder, dozing against a wall, his snores blending with the fire's crackle. Historians still argue whether cooking was a communal task or left to a few, but in your group, everyone takes a turn, though some are better at it than others. You remember the kid with the stick, who once burned a whole fish to ash, and hope he stays away from your fire. The hair is browning nicely, its juices dripping into the flames, and you lean back, wiping sweat from your brow. The valleys sounds a soft hum beyond the cave. You taste the purslane garlic paste, its bite tempered by the fire's heat, and nod, satisfied. The meal is simple but hearty, enough to tide the group over until the hunt returns. A butterfly from the meadow must have followed you, fluttering near the cave's mouth, and you watch it dance in the sunlight. A brief distraction. Another hunter returns, her arms full of firewood, and she eyes your cooking with approval, tossing a log onto the fire. You offer her a wilted leaf to chew, and she takes it, muttering about the mammoth's stubbornness. A joke to keep you cozy. What do cavemen call a good roast? A rare treat, medium well done. You turn the hair again, the smoke curling upward, and check the greens, their edges crisping. The fire needs tending, so you add a few sticks, the flames flaring briefly. Cooking is a patient art, one that grounds you after the morning's rush. You think of the ravine, the traps you set, and hope the hunters are closing in. For now, your job is here, turning scraps into sustenance. The cave, a warm haven in the wild valley. The meal is nearly ready, and you sit back, ready to share it when the others return. You lean back from the fire, the hair's smoky aroma mingling with the charred garlic bulbs. Your meal nearly ready. The cave is warm, its stone walls glowing faintly in the firelight, and the valley outside hums with midday's quiet energy. Your basket of greens sits nearby, a reminder of the morning's foraging. But now it is time to gather around the fire for something less practical: storytelling. The group is still scattered, some at the ravine chasing that mammoth, others out gathering, but a few stragglers, including the elder and a couple of kids, linger in the cave. You settle on a hide near the fire, the warmth soaking into your bones, and listen as the elder begins a tale. His voice gravelly but steady. He speaks of a great hunt, long before your time, when the group cornered a giant elk in a valley. You close your eyes, picturing the frost on the grass, the elk's steaming breath, and the hunter's triumphant shouts. The kids are rapt, one clutching that familiar stick, his eyes wide. A quirky tidbit: some cave paintings in Europe depict hunting scenes alongside abstract symbols, hinting that stories were as much about ritual as instruction. The elder's tale weaves survival tips, like how to read a beast's tracks, with flourishes of humor, claiming the elk was so big it blocked the sun. You smirk, knowing he is exaggerating, but the story pulls you in. The mainstream fact, oral storytelling, was a cornerstone of Paleolithic culture, passing down knowledge, skills, and group identity across generations. The elder pauses, sipping water from a hollowed gourd, and points at you, inviting you to add a detail. You recount a smaller hunt, the hare you roasted earlier, embellishing how it outran 3 hunters before meeting its end. The kids giggle, and the elder nods, approving your contribution. Why did the caveman tell tall tales? Because a good story warms the cave better than fire. You grin, shifting on the hide. The fire's crackle, a soft underscore to the moment. Historians still argue whether these stories were purely practical or held spiritual meaning, perhaps honoring the animals or the land. You suspect it is both. The elder's voice carries a reverence for the elk, as if its spirit lingers. The cave feels smaller now, the firelight dancing on the walls, casting shadows that mimic the story's shapes. You think back to the mammoth hunt, wondering if it will become a tale for future fires. The kid with the stick mimics a hunter's stance, jabbing at the air, and you shush him gently, not wanting to break the spell. The elder continues, describing the feast after the elk's fall, and your stomach rumbles, reminded of the hare, waiting nearby. The story winds down, the elder's voice softening, and the kids yawn, their excitement fading into sleepy contentment. You stretch, your muscles stiff from sitting, and toss a log onto the fire, sparks swirling upward. The valley outside is bright, but the cave is a world of its own, a haven where stories knit the group together. Another kid, the one who watched your spear practice, curls up on a hide, clutching a pebble like a talisman. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a boring story? One without a mammoth chase. You stand, brushing ash from your wrap, and check the hare. It's meat now, tender and ready to share. The elder's tale lingers, a reminder of why you endure the valley's dangers. For moments like this, when the group feels whole, you glance at the cave's mouth, wondering how the hunt is faring, your traps and spears waiting in the ravine. For now, you savor the fire's glow, the kids' soft breathing, and the echo of a story well told, carrying you through the day's heart. You step away from the fire, the elder's story still echoing in your mind, its images of elk and snowy valleys fading like smoke. The cave is cozy, the hare's smoky scent tempting, but you leave it for the others, your hands itching for a different task. You grab a deer antler from a pile of bones near the cave's wall, its surface smooth from handling, and settle on a flat rock outside. The sun is high, bathing the valley in golden light, and you decide to craft something lasting, bone jewelry. A small luxury in this rugged life. The air carries a faint whiff of wildflowers, and you breathe deeply, the antler cool in your palm. You pick up a flint flake, one of the sharp ones you chipped this morning, and start carving, shaving thin curls from the antler's tip. Your goal is a bead, small enough to thread onto a sinew cord, but sturdy enough to where the work is delicate. Your fingers steady despite the calluses, and you lose yourself in the rhythm, each scrape a soft whisper against the valley's hum. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have unearthed bone beads in caves across Europe, some polished so finely they suggest hours of care, maybe even traded as gifts. You imagine gifting your bead to someone in the group, perhaps the hunter who teased your spear throw, and smile at the thought. The mainstream fact: crafting jewelry was not just decorative, It likely signaled status or group bonds, with some beads found hundreds of miles from their source. You pause to test the bead's shape, rolling it between your fingers, and nod, satisfied with its smooth curve. The antler yields another, and you start again, the pile of shavings growing at your feet. Why did the caveman carve beads? Because even Stone Age folks needed some bling. You chuckle, glancing at the cave, where the kids are now poking at the fire. The elders' story replaced by their chatter. Historians still argue whether jewelry was purely social or held ritual meaning, perhaps worn to honor ancestors or spirits. You do not dwell on it. Your bead is for the group, a small way to say you are in this together. The valley stretches out, alive with birdsong and rustling leaves, and you spot a hawk circling above, its wings cutting clean arcs. You think back to the mammoth hunt, your traps waiting in the ravine, and wonder if a successful kill might call for a bigger carving, maybe a pendant. The kid with the stick would probably try to wear it as a hat, you muse, shaking your head. You switch to a smaller flint, etching a faint line into the bead for texture, your hands moving with practiced ease. Another hunter passes by, her arms full of hides, and she pauses to watch, offering a grunt of approval. You offer her a shaving to inspect, and she twirls it, then hands it back, her smile a rare break from the day's grind. The sun warms your shoulders, and you feel a quiet pride, not just in the bead but in the moment, crafting something that outlasts the day. A joke to keep you steady. What do cavemen call a bad bead? A whole lot of nothing. You finish a second bead, threading both onto a thin sinew strand, and hold them up, their pale surfaces catching the light. The valley feels timeless, its rhythms unchanged for generations, and you are part of it, shaping antler as your ancestors did. You tuck the beads into a fold of your wrap, planning to finish the cord later, and stand, stretching your cramped fingers. The hunt is still out there, but for now, you have added something small but lasting to the group's story, a bead to carry forward. You slip the antler beads into your wrap, their smooth weight a quiet reminder of your morning's work. The valley glows under the midday sun, its grasses swaying in a warm breeze. But the cave calls you back with the faint scent of roasted hare. Your group is still spread thin, some chasing that mammoth, others foraging, but you notice a small cut on your arm, a scratch from a thorn during your meadow trek. It stings, a dull pulse under the dirt smudged across your skin. Tending wounds is next, a task as routine as eating, since the wild has a way of marking you daily. You head to the cave's edge, where a patch of soft earth holds a stash of supplies, and kneel to sort through them. You dig out a clump of damp mud, its cool texture soothing as you scoop it with your fingers, mixed with crushed leaves from a plant the elder swears by. It is your group's go-to for minor scrapes. You smear the mixture over the cut, wincing as it settles, the earthy smell sharp in your nose. A quirky tidbit. Archaeologists have found ancient skeletons with healed fractures, suggesting early humans used mud and herbs to treat wounds, maybe even splinting bones with sticks. Your scratch is minor, but you take no chances. Infection is a foe you cannot spear. You pat the mud smooth, letting it dry into a crusty shield. The mainstream fact: basic wound care was crucial for Paleolithic survival, with evidence of herbal knowledge in pollen traces found at burial sites. You glance at your arm, the mud already hardening, and feel a flicker of relief. Another hunter, the one who praised your beads, limps over, her ankle swollen from a bad step. You offer her some mud, and she slathers it on, muttering about clumsy roots. Why did the caveman use mud for cuts? Because bandages were a few millennia out of stock. You smirk, handing her a leaf to wrap the paste, and she nods, hobbling off to rest. Historians still argue whether early humans understood infection, or simply stumbled into effective remedies through trial and error. You suspect it is a bit of both. The elders' plant lore feels too precise to be random. You rinse your hands in a trickle of water from a nearby gourd, the cave's dim light casting soft shadows. The kids are back, one still clutching that stick, now using it to poke at the fire's embers. You shoo him away, not keen on a spark landing on your wrap, and he scampers off, giggling. The valley outside hums, a distant bird call blending with the rustle of leaves. And you feel the day's rhythm, steady despite its dangers. You check your scratch again, the mud now a dry, cracked layer, and decide it will hold. You think back to the mammoth hunt, your traps waiting in the ravine, and hope the hunters return unscathed. Wounds are common, but losing someone to a tusk or a fall would haunt the cave. Another kid, the one who mimicked your spear throw, watches you curiously, and you show him the leaf you used, explaining its use with exaggerated gestures. He nods, wide-eyed, and you wonder if he will remember it when he gets his first scrape. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a good remedy? Mud that sticks around. You stand, brushing dirt from your knees, and survey the cave. The fire crackles, the hare's remains picked clean by the stragglers, and the elder snores. Softly, his story's done for now. Your arm feels better, the sting dulled, and you are ready for the next task. The valley stretches beyond, its dangers ever present, but so is your group's resilience, patching up cuts and carrying on. You step outside, the sun still bright, and breathe deeply, grounded by the small act of tending to yourself in this wild, unforgiving world. You step away from the cave's entrance, the mud on your scratch now a dry, protective crust. The valley basks in the afternoon's golden light, and the air carries a faint tang of pine and distant smoke. Your basket of greens and the beads tucked in your wrap feel like small victories, but the day presses on. You spot a neighboring group's scout approaching, his silhouette lean against the horizon, a bundle of furs slung over his shoulder. Bartering is next, a chance to trade for something useful, maybe a tool sharper than your flint flakes. You wave him over, your group's fire pit a neutral meeting spot, and ready yourself for the haggling, a dance as old as the valley itself. The scout, a wiry man with a braided beard, sets down his furs, their rich brown pelts catching the sunlight. You eye them, knowing they would make warm bedding, but your group needs more than comfort. You pull out a stack of your best hides, scraped and softened, and lay them out, gesturing to their quality. He inspects them, his fingers tracing the edges, and offers an obsidian blade, its black surface gleaming like a dark mirror. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found obsidian tools traded over hundreds of miles, their volcanic glass prized for its razor-sharp edges. You heft the blade, testing its balance, and nod. Intrigued but not sold yet. The mainstream fact: trade networks in the Paleolithic connected distant groups, exchanging tools, shells, and raw materials long before formal markets existed. You counter with a pair of your antler beads, their polished surfaces a rare offer, and the scout's eyes light up. He adds a small pouch of red ochre to his deal, the pigment a luxury for painting or rituals. Why did the caveman love a good trade? Because a shiny blade beats a dull day. You smirk, laying out another hide to sweeten your side. And the scout hesitates, then agrees, tossing in a bone needle for good measure. The deal is struck, and you feel a quiet thrill, your group stronger for it. Historians still argue whether bartering was purely practical or a social ritual, building trust between groups who might otherwise clash. You suspect it is both. The scout's easy grin suggests he enjoys the game as much as the goods. You tuck the blade and ochre into your wrap, handing over the hides and beads, and he slings the furs back on his shoulder, promising to return with more next season. The valley hums, a distant bird call blending with the rustle of grass, and you think of the kid with the stick, who would probably trade it for a shiny rock and call it a win. You chuckle, shaking your head at the thought. The scout heads off, his figure shrinking against the valley's expanse, and you turn back to the cave, the fire pit's embers still warm. The obsidian blade is a prize, its edge sharper than anything you have chipped, and the ochre could add flair to the cave's walls. You imagine the elder's reaction, half approving, half grumbling about fancy trades. Another hunter, the one with the swollen ankle, limps over to inspect your haul, her nod a rare compliment. A joke to keep you grounded. What do cavemen call a bad barter? Trading a spear for a stick. You stow the goods near the cave's wall, where they will be shared when the group regathers. The afternoon is waning, and the mammoth hunt lingers in your mind, your traps and spears still out there in the ravine. For now, you savor the barter's success, a small link to a world beyond your cave. The valley stretches out, its rhythms steady, and you feel part of something larger, trading and thriving in the wild's embrace. You tuck the obsidian blade and ochre pouch safely among the cave's stores, the barter's success still buzzing in your chest. The valley glows under the late afternoon sun, its golden light softening the rugged cliffs. The fire pits and the cave hums with the quiet movements of a few returned foragers. But your hands crave work. You grab the pouch of ochre, its weight promising something creative, and head to a smooth section of the cave's inner wall. Painting is next. A chance to leave a mark that outlasts the day, maybe even the season. You kneel, the stone cool beneath you, and mix the ochre with a splash of water, stirring it into a rusty paste. Using your fingers, you smear a broad stroke across the wall, the ochre vivid against the pale limestone. You sketch a bison, its curved horns and shaggy hump taking shape with each swipe. The act is slow, deliberate, your breath syncing with the motion. A quirky tidbit: some cave paintings in Europe include handprints, as if early artists signed their work or left a piece of themselves behind. You press your palm into the ochre, leaving a faint print beside the bison, a quiet claim to this moment. The paint is gritty, staining your fingers, but you feel alive. Shaping the cave's story, the mainstream fact. Cave art was widespread by 40,000 years ago, with sites from Spain to Indonesia showing animals, symbols, and human figures, likely tied to ritual or storytelling. You add details to the bison, dotting its flank with short strokes for fur, the firelight flickering across your work. Why did the caveman paint on walls? Because a blank cave is a boring neighbor. You smirk, wiping a smudge from your cheek, and step back to admire the sketch. Its lines bold, despite the dim light. Historians still argue whether cave paintings were purely artistic, spiritual, or a way to teach hunting skills. You suspect it is all three. Your bison feels like a prayer for the hunt, a lesson for the kids, and a spark of joy in a hard life. You think of the mammoth in the ravine, your traps waiting, and wonder if it will earn a place on this wall. The kid with the stick, now back in the cave, watches you, his eyes wide. You dip a finger in the ochre and let him smear a wobbly line, his grin brighter than the paint. He will probably paint that stick next, you muse, chuckling softly. Another hunter, the one who shared your foraging tips, pauses to watch, her basket of roots at her feet. She nods, impressed, and suggests adding a tree to frame the bison. You oblige, sketching gnarled branches, the ochre thinning as you work. The cave feels alive. Its walls are canvas for the group's dreams and memories. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad painting? A smudge too far. You rinse your hands in a gourd of water, the ochre swirling like blood, and feel a quiet pride. Your bison, a small gift to the cave's legacy. The painting is rough but striking, a story, told in strokes and smudges. You stand, stretching your cramped fingers, and glance outside, where the valley's light is fading into a soft orange. The hunt is still out there, but here, you have added something lasting, a mark that speaks of today's hopes. The kid lingers, mimicking your brushstrokes on the air, and you shoo him gently, not wanting ochre on the hides. The cave holds you, its warmth and shadows a reminder of why you endure, creating in the face of the wild. You step back from the cave wall, the bison painting glowing faintly in the firelight, its ochre lines a quiet triumph. Your fingers are still tinged with pigment, but the valley's light is fading, the sun dipping behind the cliffs. The cave hums with small sounds, the crackle of the fire, the elders' soft snores, but your body craves rest after the morning's bustle. You wander out to a nearby grove, where a massive oak spreads its branches, casting dappled shade over the grass. Napping is next, a stolen moment to recharge before the hunt's outcome reshapes the day. You settle under the tree, the earth, cool beneath your hide wrap, and let the valley's rhythm lull you. The grass is soft, dotted with tiny white flowers, and you lie back, one arm behind your head, the other clutching your spear, just in case. The leaves above rustle, their whispers blending with a distant bird's call, and you feel the tension of the ravine, the traps, and the mammoth slip away. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found worn patches in caves, suggesting early humans had favorite resting spots, maybe even napping nooks like your oak. You close your eyes, the shade a gentle curtain, and let your breathing slow, the valley's pulse syncing with your own. The mainstream fact: rest was essential for Paleolithic survival, with studies of modern hunter-gatherers showing they balanced intense activity with frequent downtime to conserve energy. Your nap is no luxury, it is a necessity, sharpening your senses for whatever comes next. You think of the cave, the roasted hare, the kid with the stick, and smile, wondering if he ever naps or just chases his own shadow. Why did the caveman nap under a tree? Because even hunters need a break from mammoth drama. You chuckle softly, the sound swallowed by the grove's quiet, and sink deeper into the grass. Historians still argue whether early humans slept in short bursts or long stretches, but you know your group grabs rest when it can, especially on hunt days. The oak's shade is perfect, its canopy filtering the sun into soft speckles across your face. You hear a squirrel skitter up the trunk, its claws a faint scratch, and crack one eye open, half expecting trouble, but it is just the valley being itself. You think back to the ochre bison, your handprint beside it, and feel a flicker of pride, a reason to rest easy. The kid who smeared paint with you would probably nap on a rock and call it cozy. You muse, grinning. A breeze stirs, carrying the scent of pine and distant water, and you shift, tucking your wrap tighter. The spear at your side is a comfort, its wood warm from your grip, a reminder of the hunt still unfolding, Another hunter, the one with the swollen ankle, hobbles past, heading for the cave. And you wave lazily, too comfortable to move. She smirks, probably jealous of your spot, and you close your eyes again, the grove wrapping you in its calm. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a good nap? A dream worth snoring for. Your thoughts blur. The valley's sounds fading into a soft hum, and you hover on the edge of sleep. Not quite gone, but close. The oak stands guard, its roots deep in the earth, and you feel part of it, rooted in this moment, this life. The hunt, the cave, the beads, all wait, but for now, you are just you, resting in the wild's embrace, ready to rise when the valley calls. You stir from your nap under the oak, the valley's late afternoon light filtering through the leaves in soft, golden patches. The grass beneath you is warm, but a cool breeze nudges you awake, carrying the faint gurgle of a nearby stream. Your spear rests at your side, its familiar weight grounding you as you sit up, blinking away the haze of rest. The mammoth hunt lingers in your mind, but for now you have another task: fishing. You grab a woven net, its fibers rough but tightly knotted, and head toward the stream. The promise of trout pulling you through the grove's dappled shade. The stream is clear, its surface rippling over smooth pebbles, and you wade in, the icy water biting your shins. You cast the net, letting it sink, and watch for the flash of silver that signals a catch. The current tugs gently, and you adjust your stance, feet gripping the slippery rocks. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found fishhooks made of bone. In Paleolithic sites, some so small they suggest early humans targeted tiny fish with precision. Your net is less fussy, designed to scoop whatever swims too close, but you still need skill to avoid an empty haul. The mainstream fact: fishing was a key food source for many early human groups, with evidence of net-making in sites dating back over 20,000 years. You spot a trout darting against the current, its scales glinting, and sweep the net, catching it in a tangle of fibers. It thrashes, but you pull it to the bank, its weight satisfying in your hands. Why did the caveman fish with a net? Because chasing trout with a spear is a wet mess. You grin, tossing the fish into a woven basket, and cast again, the stream's rhythm steadying your focus. Historians still argue whether fishing was a primary food source, or a backup when hunting failed. But you know a good catch can save a lean day. You think of the cave, the roasted hare long gone, and hope your trout will feed the kids. Maybe even that stick-waving one who never seems to stop moving. Another fish slips into the net, smaller but feisty, and you add it to the basket, water dripping down your arms. The valley hums, a bird's trill echoing off the cliffs, and you feel the stream's pulse, alive and giving as you work. A shadow moves upstream, another hunter, the lanky one from spear practice, trying his luck with a sharpened stick. You call out a teasing jab about his aim, and he laughs, splashing water your way. You dodge, nearly slipping, and refocus on the net, pulling in a third trout, its colors vivid even in the fading light. The memory of your ochre bison painting flickers, a reminder of the day's small creations, and you wonder if a fish might join it on the wall. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad catch? A fishy excuse for dinner. You wade deeper, the cold numbing your legs, and cast one last time, the net sinking into a deeper pool. The stream is generous today, and your basket holds enough to share. You climb out, shaking water from your wrap, and sling the basket over your shoulder, its weight a quiet triumph. The valley's glow is softening, the sun nearing the horizon. And you head back toward the cave. The hunt's still out there, but your contribution here, real and wriggling, ready to sustain the group through another evening. You trek back from the stream, your basket heavy with wriggling trout, their scales glinting in the valley's fading light. The air is cooler now, tinged with the earthy scent of dusk, and the cave's faint smoke beckons you home. Your legs ache from wading, but the day's work is not done. You spot a pile of worn hides near the cave's entrance, their edges fraying from heavy use, and decide to repair them. Stitching hides is slow but vital, turning tattered pelts into warm wraps or sturdy bedding. You settle on a flat rock, the valley's quiet hum around you, and pull out a bone needle from your barter with the scout. Its point sharp enough for the task. You select a deer hide, its surface scarred but soft, and thread the needle with a strip of sinew, its fibers tough and pliable. You pierce the hide, pulling the sinew through with steady tugs, each stitch sealing a tear. The work is methodical, your fingers finding a rhythm as the needle glints in the dimming light. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found bone needles in caves, some as old as 50,000 years, suggesting sewing was a refined skill even among early humans. You smile, imagining the scout's pride in trading this needle, and focus on keeping your stitches tight, the hide growing stronger with each pass. The mainstream fact: hide working was essential for Paleolithic survival, providing clothing, shelter, and tools, with some sites showing hides scraped to uniform thickness. You pause to trim a ragged edge with your obsidian blade, its sharp edge a gift from the barter. Why did the caveman stitch hides? Because a holy wrap lets in more than just breezes. You chuckle, glancing at the cave, where the kid with the stick is now dragging it across the dirt, oblivious to your work. The valley's cliffs glow orange, the sun nearly gone, and you feel the day's weight, each stitch a small defiance against the wild. Historians still argue whether hide repair was a shared task or assigned to specialists, but in your group, everyone pitches in, though your stitches are neater than most. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps still out there, and hope the hunters bring back hides to work with. Another tear closes under your needle, the sinew holding firm, and you nod, satisfied. The elder shuffles out, eyeing your progress, and grunts approval, a rare nod that warms you more than the fire. The kid, predictably, tries to poke the hide with his stick, and you shoo him off, warning him about sharp needles. He scampers away, leaving a trail of giggles. You start on a second hide, this one thicker, maybe for a child's wrap. The bone needle glides smoothly, and you lose yourself in the task, the valley's sounds fading to a soft hum. A bat flits overhead, its wings a whisper, and you pause, watching it vanish into the dusk. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad stitch? A seam that dreams of freedom. You finish the hide, tying off the sinew, and stack it with the first. Their repaired surfaces ready for use. The cave calls, its firelight spilling out, and you stand, stretching your cramped hands. The day's end drawing near. The trout basket sits nearby, a reminder of your stream haul, and you feel a quiet pride, stitching and fishing to keep the group strong. The valley settles into twilight, its rhythms unchanged, and you carry the hides inside, ready to share the day's work. The hunt lingers in your thoughts, but for now, you are here, mending what the wild has worn, one careful stitch at a time. You carry the mended hides into the cave, their soft weight a testament to your careful stitches and stack them near the fire's glow. The valley outside is cloaked in twilight, the air cool with the scent of damp earth and pine. The trout basket sits untouched, its contents still fresh, but your attention shifts to the cave's younger members, the kids who trail you like curious shadows. Teaching them knots is next, a practical skill to keep their hands busy and their minds sharp. You call over a small group, including the stick-waving kid, and settle on a hide near the fire, a coil of vine rope in your lap. Its fibers rough but strong. You hold up the vine, demonstrating a simple loop knot, your fingers moving slowly so they can follow. The kids lean in, their eyes bright in the firelight, and you explain how this knot can secure a trap or bind a bundle. The stick kid, predictably, tries to tie his stick to his wrist, and you gently untangle him, stifling a laugh. A quirky tidbit. Archaeologists have found knotted cords in Paleolithic sites. Some so intricate they suggest early humans used them for everything from fishing nets to carrying slings. You hand each kid a short vine, urging them to try. Their small hands fumbling but eager. The mainstream fact, teaching skills like knot tying was vital for group survival. With evidence of children's tools showing they learned young, practicing alongside adults. You correct a girl's loose knot, showing her how to pull it tight, and she beams, proud of her first success. Why did the cavemen teach knots? Because a loose vine loses the day. You grin, watching the stick kid finally manage a wobbly loop, though he immediately uses it to lasso his neighbor's foot. You shake your head, redirecting him. The cave's warmth wrapping you all in a shared moment. Historians still argue whether children were taught formally or learned by mimicking adults. But you know it takes both, patience and repetition. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps relying on similar knots, and hope these kids will one day tie their own. The elder watches from his corner, his eyes half closed but approving, and you feel a flicker of pride, passing on what keeps the group alive. Another kid, the one who smeared ochre with you, ties a knot so tight it nearly snaps the vine, and you praise her, suggesting she try a double loop next. The stick kid, of course, is now tying his stick to another stick, and you let it slide. Amused, you demonstrate a slip knot, useful for quick releases, and the kids practice, their chatter blending with the fire's crackle. The valley outside is quiet, the hunt still unresolved, but here the cave feels full, alive with learning. A bat's shadow flickers at the entrance, and you pause, watching it vanish, then refocus, showing the kids how to test their knots. Strength, a joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad knot? A tangle with big dreams. You lean back, the vine coil lighter now, and watch the kids work. Their small victories a promise for the group's future. The lesson winds down, the kids clutching their vines, some still practicing, others distracted by the fire's glow. You stand, brushing ash from your wrap, and glance at the trout, ready to prepare them soon. The cave holds you, its walls marked by your bison painting, its air thick with the day's stories and skills. The kids scatter, the stick kid dragging his knotted creation, and you smile, knowing they will carry these knots forward, just as you carry the valley's weight, one task at a time. You watch the kids scamper off, their vine knots clutched like trophies. The stick kid predictably tying his to another stick. The cave's fire casts a warm glow, but the valley outside is now a deep indigo, stars pricking through the twilight. The air is crisp, carrying the faint hoot of an owl, and you step out, your spear in hand, to take in the night. Watching the stars is next, a quiet moment to ponder the sky's vast patterns, a ritual that feels as old as the cliffs around you. You find a grassy knoll just beyond the cave, settle onto the cool earth, and tilt your head back. The constellations, sprawling above like scattered flint flakes. The stars are sharp, unblurred by any haze, and you trace familiar shapes, lines your group has named after beasts and hunters. One cluster looks like a bison, its horns curving like the one you painted. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found notched bones that might be early star charts, suggesting Paleolithic people tracked the sky for navigation or stories. You point at a bright star, imagining it guiding you to a new valley, though tonight, it just anchors you here in this moment. The night is alive, crickets chirping, and you feel small but connected, part of the valley's endless rhythm. The mainstream fact: early humans likely used the stars for navigation and seasonal timing, with some cave art possibly depicting constellations. You spot a faint streak, a shooting star, and make a silent wish for the mammoth hunt's success, your traps still waiting in the ravine. Why did the caveman stare at the stars? Because even he needed a break from earthly messes. You smirk, shifting on the grass, your spear a reassuring weight beside you. The valley's quiet wraps you, but you stay alert, knowing the night hides predators as easily as it reveals stars. Historians still argue whether stargazing was practical, spiritual, or both, but you feel it is a mix. The sky, a map, and a mystery. You think of the cave, the kids' knots, the ochre bison, and how the stars seem to watch it all, unchanging. The stick kid would probably try to spear a star, you muse, chuckling softly, his endless energy a contrast to this calm. Another hunter joins you, the one from spear practice, and sits silently, his eyes on the same bison cluster. You point it out, sharing a nod, the sky a language you both speak without words. A breeze stirs, cool against your skin, and you pull your wrap tighter. The night's chill creeping in. The stars shift slowly, marking time you cannot measure, and you wonder what the hunt holds, whether your traps will hold. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a dim star? A light that needs a better fire. You lie back, the grass cushioning you, and let the sky's vastness pull your thoughts apart. Each star a story, each pause a breath. The valley feels eternal, its cliffs and streams outlasting your worries. And you soak it in, grounded by the earth, lifted by the stars. The hunter beside you shifts, murmuring about a new valley to explore, and you listen, half dreaming. The stars, a backdrop to his words. The cave's firelight spills faintly from the entrance, a reminder of the group waiting within. You sit up, brushing grass from your wrap, and take one last look at the bison in the sky. Its horns a promise of tomorrow's fight. The night is young, but the day's tasks are not done, and you head back, ready to face whatever the valley brings next. The stars still burning above. You leave the starry knoll, the valley now draped in night's deep velvet. The stars glow fading behind the cave's firelight. The air is sharp, laced with the scent of damp stone and distant pines, and your spear feels heavier as you near the cave. The hunt's outcome still lingers in your thoughts, but safety comes first. Preparing night defenses is next, a task to shield the group from the valley's nocturnal threats. You grab a pile of loose rocks near the cave's mouth, their rough edges cold in your hands, and start stacking them into a low barrier, a deterrent for prowling wolves or curious bears. The fire crackles inside, casting flickering shadows, and you work quickly, the night's chill urging you on. Each rock slots into place, forming a jagged wall about knee-high, enough to slow an intruder. You wedge a larger boulder at the center. Its way to struggle, but worth the effort. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found cave entrances with deliberate stone piles, suggesting early humans fortified their shelters against predators or rival groups. You step back, wiping sweat from your brow, and test the barrier's sturdiness, satisfied when it holds firm. The valley is quiet, save for a faint rustle in the grass, and you grip your spear, scanning the darkness. The stars above no match for the night's hidden dangers. The mainstream fact: defensive structures like stone barriers were common in Paleolithic camps, with some sites showing charred logs used to scare off animals. You drag a few branches to the pile, their dry leaves perfect for kindling if a fire is needed to ward off a threat. Why did the caveman build a rock wall? Because a good night's sleep beats a bear hug. You smirk, glancing at the cave, where the kid with the stick is now asleep, his prized twig tucked under his arm. The elder stirs, eyeing your work, and grunts approval, his rare praise warming you more than the fire. Historians still argue whether these defenses were for animals or other humans. But you know the valley's wolves are reason enough, you think. Of the mammoth hunt, your traps in the ravine, and hope the hunters return whole, not needing this barrier for worse reasons. Another hunter, the one who shared your stargazing, joins you, adding rocks to the pile, her movements steady despite the day's toll. You nod, grateful for the help, and recall the ochre bison on the wall, a symbol of the group's strength. Now guarded by your stones, the stick kid would probably try to climb this wall, you muse, chuckling softly. You add a final layer, the barrier now solid, and scatter thorny branches across the top, a prickly surprise for any pause. The cave feels safer, its firelight a beacon against the night's vastness. A bat swoops low, its wings a soft whoosh, and you pause, watching it vanish into the dark. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a weak defense? A rock bottom plan. You step inside, brushing dirt from your hands, and check the fire, its embers low but steady. The group is mostly here, some asleep, others murmuring about the hunt, and you feel the weight of your role, keeping them safe while the valley watches. The barrier is done. A small fortress for the night, and you settle near the fire, your spear at your side. The trout basket waits, a task for later, but for now you savor the cave's warmth. The rocks outside standing guard, the stars are hidden, but the valley's pulse remains, a reminder of the wild you tame, one stone at a time. You lean back, ready for the next task, the night stretching out, both friend and foe. You settle near the cave's fire, the rock barrier outside standing firm against the valley's dark. The night air seeps in, cool and sharp, but the fire's glow keeps it at bay, its embers casting soft shadows on the ochre bison you painted. The group is hushed, some asleep, others tending small tasks, the mammoth hunt still unresolved. You notice the kids curled on hides, the stick kid clutching his twig even in sleep, and feel the urge to fill the quiet. Singing soft chants is next, a way to soothe the group and weave the night's calm deeper. You clear your throat, your voice low, and begin a gentle hum, a melody your group has sung for generations. The chant is simple, a repetitive drone that mimics the valley's wind, its notes rising and falling like a stream over pebbles. You sway slightly, the fire's warmth on your face, and sing of the hunt, the stars, the enduring cliffs. The words are few, more sound than story, but they carry weight, binding the group in the dark. A quirky tidbit archaeologists have found: bone flutes in Paleolithic sites, some 40,000 years old, suggesting music or chants were part of early human life, maybe for rituals or just comfort. Your voice, unpolished but steady, fills the cave, and a few heads lift. Listening, the mainstream fact: vocal traditions like chanting likely strengthened social bonds in early human groups, with some scholars linking them to coordination during hunts or ceremonies. You notice the elder's eyes open, his gaze soft, and he joins in, his gravelly voice blending with yours. Why did the caveman sing at night? Because silence is a lousy lullaby. You smirk, keeping the rhythm, and see the stick kid stir, his eyes half open, soothed by the sound. The chant grows. Another hunter, the one from stargazing, adding a faint hum. Her voice a quiet harmony that makes the cave feel fuller, safer. Historians still argue whether chants were spiritual, practical, or both, but you know they ease the night's weight, making the wild less daunting. You think of the mammoth, your traps in the ravine, and weave its strength into the chant, a hope for the hunter's return. The kid who tied knots earlier shifts closer, her small hand tapping the rhythm, and you nod, encouraging her. The memory of your trout haul flickers, a reminder of the day's work. And you wonder if fish could inspire a chant, though the stick kid would probably sing about his twig instead. You muse, chuckling inwardly. The melody softens your voice, dropping to a near whisper, and the group settles deeper into their hides, the chant a blanket over their worries. A bat's faint squeak echoes outside, but the cave holds you, its walls alive with your bison and your song. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad chant? A tune that wakes the wolves. You let the final note linger, fading into the fires crackle and lean back, the silence now warm, not empty. The elder nods, his eyes closing again, and you feel the group's pulse. Steady despite the hunt's uncertainty, the chant's echo lingers, a thread tying you to the valley, the stars, the past. You glance at the trout basket, knowing it needs cooking soon, but for now, you savor the quiet, the fire's glow, the group's soft breathing. The night is deep, the barrier solid, and your voice has done its part, calming the cave for whatever dawn brings. You stretch your spear nearby, and settle in, the valley's rhythm a lullaby of its own, carrying you toward the next task. You ease back from the fire, the chant's soft echo still humming in your chest, the cave now wrapped in a deeper calm. The night is thick outside, the valley's stars hidden by the cave's stone, but the firelight holds the group close, its glow dancing on your ochre bison. The kids sleep soundly, the stick kid's twig still clutched tight, and the elder's snores blend with the fire's crackle. Your trout basket waits, but another task calls, checking the traps you set earlier. For smaller game, you grab your spear and a woven basket, slipping past the rock barrier, the cool air sharp against your skin as you step into the dark to see what the valley has caught. The path to the traps is familiar, a narrow trail through tall grass, and you move quietly, your eyes adjusting to the moonlight. The first trap, a vine snare near a thicket, is empty, its loop undisturbed. You kneel, checking the knot, and nod, satisfied it is still taut. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found small animal bones near snare-like structures, suggesting early humans relied on rabbits and birds to supplement bigger hunts. You move to the next, a weighted net hidden by ferns, and find a rabbit, its fur soft but still, caught at dusk. You untangle it gently, placing it in your basket. Its weight a small victory. The mainstream fact: trapping small game was a low-risk way to secure food. With some sites showing bone piles from hares and rodents near living areas. You reset the net, smoothing the ferns to hide it, and head to a third trap, a pit covered with branches. It is empty, but you reinforce the edges with stones, ensuring it holds for tomorrow. Why did the caveman check traps at night? Because rabbits do not. Wait for breakfast. You smirk, the valley's quiet broken by a distant owl hoot, and keep moving. Your spear ready for any rustle that is not game. Historians still argue whether trapping was a daily chore or a backup when hunts failed. But you know it keeps the group fed when mammoths are scarce. You think of the ravine, your other traps waiting for that bigger prize, and hope the hunters are safe. The stick kid would probably trip over these snares, you muse, chuckling, his endless energy no match. For their stealth. Another trap yields a small bird, its wings stilled, and you add it to the basket, resetting the vine with care. The moonlight paints the valley silver, the cliffs looming like silent watchers. And you feel the night's pulse, alive but unforgiving. You check one last snare, finding it empty, and decide it is enough for now. The basket holds 2 catches, modest but enough to roast with the trout. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call an empty trap? A hair-wide disappointment. You sling the basket over your shoulder, the rabbit and bird, a quiet promise for the group's hunger. The cave's firelight beckons, a warm contrast to the valley's chill. And you retrace your steps, the grass swishing softly underfoot. The stars peek through a gap in the clouds, reminding you of your earlier gaze. And you feel grounded, tied to the valley's endless cycle. You slip past the rock barrier, the cave's warmth enveloping you, and set the basket near the fire. The group is mostly asleep, the elders snores, steady, and you feel a flicker of pride, your traps adding to the day's haul. The trout wait, the hunt lingers, but for now, you have done your part, the valley's gifts carried back to the cave, ready to share in the morning's light. You settled the basket of rabbit and bird near the cave's fire, its embers casting a soft glow across the sleeping group. The valley outside is cloaked in night, the air thick with the scent of dew and distant pines. Your traps have yielded. Their small bounty, but the cave's warmth pulls you back, the day's tasks blending into the night's rhythm. The trout basket sits untouched, and you decide it is time to share a meal, an evening stew to bring the group together. You grab a flat stone, still warm from earlier cooking, and start preparing the fish. The fires crackle, a steady companion as you work in the quiet. You scale the trout with your obsidian blade, its sharp edge gliding through the skin, and gut them carefully, setting the fillets aside. The rabbit is next, its fur already removed, and you chop it into chunks, mixing it with the bird for a hearty base. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found clay-lined pits in some sites, suggesting early humans slow-cook stews by heating stones, a trick your group uses too. You add your foraged purslane and garlic bulbs, crushing them into the mix, their sharp tang rising as you stir. The stone sizzles, the stew simmering as you add water from a gourd, the cave filling with a savory aroma. The mainstream fact: communal. Meals strengthen social bonds in Paleolithic groups, with shared food often signaling trust and cooperation. You pass the stone to another hunter, the one who helped with the rock barrier, and she takes a turn stirring, her tired eyes brightening at the smell. Why did the caveman share his stew? Because a full belly makes better friends. You grin, tossing. In a handful of lamb's quarters, their leaves wilting into the broth. The stick kid, somehow awake, sniffs the air and edges closer, his twig forgotten. You warn him to wait, not wanting a burned tongue to ruin the night. Historians still argue whether meals were formal gatherings or casual affairs. But in your cave, they are a ritual, a moment to pause. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps, in the ravine, and hope the hunters return to share this stew. The elder stirs, drawn by the scent, and you ladle a portion into a hollowed gourd. Passing it to him first, his nod a quiet thanks. The kid who tied knots earlier watches, wide-eyed. And you promised her a share, her small hands clutching a vine as if it holds her place. The stick kid, predictably, tries to poke the stew with his twig, and you shoo him off, chuckling at his persistence. The stew bubbles, its warmth spreading through the cave, and you serve it in gourds and on flat stones, the group gathering in a loose circle. The firelight dances on the ochre bison, and you feel the day's work, from fishing to painting, woven into this moment. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a bad stew? A broth of a mistake. You take a sip, the flavors rich and grounding, and pass the stone to the next hunter, the cave alive with soft murmurs and the clink of gourds. The valley waits outside, its dangers held at bay by your rock barrier, and you savor the meal, a shared strength for whatever dawn brings. The stew dwindles, the group's hunger sated, and you lean back. The fire's glow softening the cave's edges, the kids curl up, the stick kid finally still, and you feel the night's calm settle, the meal a bridge between the day's toil and the rest to come. The hunt lingers, but for now, you are here, fed and whole, the cave a haven in the wild. You lean back from the fire, the stew's warmth lingering in your belly, the cave quiet except for the soft crackle of embers and the elders' faint snores. The valley outside is a sea of darkness, its stars hidden by clouds, but the firelight holds the group close, the ochre bison watching from the wall. The gourds are empty, the trout and rabbit shared, and the kids, even the stick kid, are slumped in sleep, his twig finally still. The mammoth hunt weighs on you, its outcome unknown, and now it is time to talk, debating migration paths for the group's next move. You shift closer to the fire, joining a small circle of hunters, their faces lit by flickering light, and begin murmuring about the valley beyond. The discussion centers on a neighboring valley, rumored to have richer game, but steeper cliffs. You argue for caution, pointing out the current valley's reliable stream and your traps, like the ones that caught tonight's rabbit. Another hunter, the lanky one from spear practice, pushes for the move, his voice low but eager, describing herds of deer spotted there. A quirky tidbit, archaeologists have found seasonal campsites, suggesting early humans migrated in cycles, following game or milder weather. You trace a rough map in the dirt, sketching the new valley's rumored paths. The fires glow, making your lines dance. The mainstream fact, migration was a survival strategy for Paleolithic groups, with evidence of tools and bones showing movement across vast distances, sometimes hundreds of miles. You lean forward, suggesting a scout to check the new valley's safety, your finger hovering over the dirt map. Why did the caveman debate migration? Because staying put is a gamble with empty traps. You smirk, catching the elder's half open eye, his silence a sign he is listening. The stick kid would probably vote to stay, you muse, chuckling, just to keep dragging his twig through this valley's dirt. Historians still argue whether migrations were planned or forced by dwindling resources, but you know your group weighs every choice, balancing risk and reward. The hunter with the swollen ankle, now resting nearby, adds her voice, warning of the new valley's rocky terrain, her limp a fresh reminder. You nod, recalling the ochre bison, a symbol of this valley's bounty, and wonder if the next cave will hold such art. The debate grows, voices overlapping, and you propose a compromise. Stay through spring, then scout. The lanky hunter grumbles but agrees, scratching out his map with a stick. Not unlike the kids. The fire pops, sending sparks upward, and you feel the group's pulse, a shared need to choose wisely. A bat squeaks outside, its sound faint but sharp, and you glance at the rock barrier, grateful for its protection. A joke to keep you drifting, what do cavemen call a bad migration, a long walk to nowhere. You lean back, the dirt map smudged but clear in your mind, and let the talk wind down, the hunter's voices softening. The cave feels like a council chamber, its walls holding the weight of your words. The stars above, unseen but guiding. The decision is not final, but the group is united, ready to watch the season's signs. You stretch your spear nearby and glance at the trout basket's remains, a reminder of the day's work. The valley waits, its paths and perils, part of your blood, and you feel ready to face them, whether here or beyond. The fire dims, the debate done, and you settle in. The night's calm, a fragile gift, carrying you toward the next task. You ease back from the fire, the migration debate's murmurs fading into the cave's warm hush. The valley outside is a silent void, its darkness broken only by the faint glow of stars peeking through clouds. The fire's embers pulse, casting shadows on your ochre bison, and the group settles. The kid's asleep, the stick kid's twig still in his grasp. Your mind hums with the day's tasks, from traps to stew, but your hands seek work. Carving wooden tools is next, a quiet craft to shape a spear from a branch, ensuring the group's strength for tomorrow. You grab a sturdy oak branch from a pile near the cave's wall, its bark rough and settled by the fire. Your obsidian blade gleaming in the light. You strip the bark with careful slices, the wood's pale grain emerging smooth and strong. Your goal is a spear shaft, balanced and light, to pair with a flint tip. The carving is slow, each stroke deliberate, the shavings curling at your feet like tiny scrolls. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found wooden spears, some 400,000 years old, preserved in bogs, showing early humans were skilled woodworkers long before metal. You test the branch's weight, satisfied with its heft, and shave a notch for the flint. The fires crackle a soft rhythm to your work. The mainstream fact: wooden tools like spears were vital for hunting and defense, with wear marks on ancient examples showing heavy use in daily life. You glance at your old spear, its shaft worn but trusty, and vow to make this new one better. Why did the caveman carve wood? Because a good spear beats a bad day. You smirk, brushing shavings from your wrap, and notice the elder watching, his eyes glinting with approval. The stick kid would probably carve his twig into a toy. You muse, chuckling, his endless antics a contrast to your focus. Historians still argue whether woodworking was a specialized skill or shared by all. But in your group, everyone learns. Though your spears are known for their balance, you think of the mammoth hunt, your traps in the ravine, and hope this spear sees action soon. The blade bites deeper, shaping the shaft's point. and you pause to rub your thumb along the grain, feeling its strength. Another hunter, the one from the stew circle, leans over, inspecting your progress, and offers a grunt of praise, her own hands busy with a hide. You nod, the cave's quiet binding you in shared purpose. A bat's squeak echoes outside, a reminder of the valley's night, but the fire holds you, its warmth easing the ache in your fingers. A joke to keep you drifting, what do cavemen call a bad spear? A stick with big dreams. You finish the notch, testing its fit with a spare flint tip, and set the branch aside, the spear nearly complete. The shavings scatter, some catching the fire's edge, and you sweep them away. The cave's floor, a patchwork of your day's work. The valley waits, its dangers and promises unchanged, and you feel ready. Your new spear a small defiance against the wild. You stand, stretching your cramped hands, and glance at the trout basket's remains, a meal well shared. The group breathes softly, the fire low but steady, and you feel the day's weight, from knots to stars, now carved into wood. The hunt lingers, but for now, you have shaped something lasting, a tool to carry the group forward. You settle near, the fire, the spear at your side, the cave a haven as the night deepens, ready for the next task. You set the carved spear shaft by the cave's wall, its smooth grain catching the fire's fading glow. The valley outside is a deep, silent night, the air thick with the scent of dew and distant pines. The group rests, the stick kid snores, mingling with the elders, his twig still clutched tight. Your hands are tired from carving, but the day's rhythm keeps you moving. Listening to nature is next, a quiet task to decode the valley's sounds, ensuring no threats lurk beyond. Your rock barrier. You step outside, spear in hand, and stand still, letting the night's chorus wash over you. The stars above, faint but steady, the valley hums. A tapestry of rustling leaves, a distant owl's hoot, and the soft gurgle of the stream you fished. Earlier, you tilt your head, catching a faint crunch of gravel, likely a deer, but you grip your spear, just in case. A quirky tidbit, archaeologists have found bone whistles in some sites, possibly used to mimic animal calls, suggesting early humans listened closely to nature for survival. You strain to hear more, the owl's call, repeating, a sign it is hunting. Not alarmed, the valley feels alive, its sounds a language you have learned to read, guiding you through the dark. The mainstream fact, environmental awareness was critical for Paleolithic survival, with evidence of campsites chosen for their proximity to water and game trails. You notice a shift in the wind, carrying a musky scent, maybe a fox, but too faint to worry. Why did the caveman listen to the night? Because silence hides more than it reveals. You smirk, recalling the stick kid's endless chatter, a contrast to this focused, quiet. The cave's firelight spills faintly, your ochre bison a silent sentinel, and you feel grounded, tuned to the valley's pulse. Historians still argue whether early humans relied on instinct or learned patterns to interpret nature's sounds, but you know it is years of watching, listening, surviving. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps in the ravine, and hope the hunters heard the valley's warnings. A rustle in the grass makes you pause, but it is just a small creature, maybe a vole, scurrying past. You relax, easing your grip on the spear, and catch the lanky hunter's shadow nearby, also listening, his nod confirming the night is safe. The stick kid would probably think an owl was calling his name. You muse, chuckling softly. A frog croaks near the stream, its rhythm steady, and you take it as a good sign. No predators near the water. The stars glimmer, reminding you of your earlier gaze, and you feel the valley's vastness. It sounds a map of what lives and moves. A joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a quiet night? A valley with no complaints. You linger a moment longer, the air cool on your skin, and let the sounds settle, each one a thread in the night's weave. The cave waits, its warmth calling, and you turn back, satisfied the barrier holds and the valley is at peace. For now, you slip inside, the fire's embers low, the group's soft breathing a mirror of the night's calm. Your spear rests by your side, the new shaft ready for tomorrow, and you feel the day's work, from trout to chance, tying you to this life. The valley's sounds fade but linger in your mind, a reminder to stay sharp, always listening. As the night carries you toward the next task, you slip back into the cave, the valley's night sounds fading behind the rock barrier you built. The fire is low, its embers glowing like tiny stars, casting flickers on your ochre bison painting. The group sleeps, their soft breaths mingling. With the elder's snores, the stick kid curled up with his twig like it is a treasure. Your spear and basket of small game rest nearby, but the day's work is not done. Wrapping up chores is next, tidying the cave to keep it livable, a final task before the night claims you. You grab a bundle of dry ferns, their crisp scent sharp, and start sweeping debris from the cave floor, the fire's warmth guiding your moves. You brush away flint shavings from your morning tool-making, their gritty dust piling up near the wall. The cave is cluttered, bits of bone, ash, and stray vines from the kids, not lessons scattered like a messy map of the day. You work quietly, not wanting to wake the group, and stack the bones in a corner, saving them for tools or broth. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found neatly organized caves, with bone piles and tool caches suggesting early humans kept their spaces tidy, perhaps for practical or ritual reasons. You smile, imagining the stick kid's twig pile as his version of order, and keep sweeping, the ferns swishing softly. The mainstream fact: maintaining a clean camp was key for Paleolithic groups, with evidence of swept floors and designated waste areas in some sites. You move to the fire pit, scooping cold ash into a hollow gourd, careful not to stir up dust. Why did the caveman tidy the cave? Because a messy home attracts more than just ants. You smirk, glancing at the kid, his twig now half buried under his hide. The cave feels cozier with each sweep. The fire's glow brighter against the cleared stone, and you feel a quiet pride, making this space a haven. Historians still argue whether tidying was about hygiene or social order, but you know it keeps the group calm, a small control in the wild valley. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps waiting, and hope the hunters return to a clean cave, not chaos. The elder stirs, muttering in his sleep, and you pause, not wanting to disturb him. The kid who painted with you earlier shifts, her vine not tucked beside her, and you adjust her hide, a small gesture. The stick kid would probably sweep his twig into the fire. You muse, chuckling, and refocus, gathering stray roots from your foraging into a neat pile. You finish by rearranging the hides, smoothing them for tomorrow's rest. A bat's faint squeak echoes outside, but the rock barrier holds, and you feel safe, the cave a fortress of your making. A joke to keep you drifting: what do cavemen call a messy cave? A Stone Age disaster zone. You set the ferns aside, the floor now clear, and check the fire, adding a small log to keep it alive. The valley's night is deep, but the cave is ready, its warmth and order a shield against the wild. You settle near the fire, your chores done, the group's soft breathing, a lullaby as you wait for the hunt's return. You settle near the cave's fire, the floor now tidy, your fern broom resting against the wall beside your newly carved spear. The valley outside is a silent expanse, the night deep and cool, its air seeping past the rock barrier with whispers of pine and dew. The group sleeps soundly, the stick kid's twig still clutched in his small fist, the elder's snores a steady rhythm. The fire's embers glow, casting soft light on your ochre bison, and you feel the day's weight, from fishing to chanting, settling into your bones. Reflecting on survival is next, a quiet moment to mull over the day's small victories, the cave a haven amid the wild. You lean back, your hide wrap warm against the stone, and trace the day's tasks in your mind. The trout you netted, the traps that caught a rabbit, the knots you taut, each a thread in the group's strength. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps still out there in the ravine, and wonder if tomorrow will bring meat or hunger. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found bone tools with wear marks so specific they suggest early humans took pride in daily tasks, seeing them as acts of endurance. You smile, picturing the stick kid's pride in his twig, a tiny echo of your own satisfaction. The mainstream fact: survival in the Paleolithic was a daily grind, with evidence of repetitive tasks like tool making and foraging shaping strong, resilient communities. You glance at the fire, its glow a reminder of the warmth you have built, and feel a flicker of gratitude for the group, each person a piece of the puzzle. Why did the caveman reflect on his day? Because even small wins keep the wolves away. You smirk, shifting on the hide, and recall the stew you shared, its flavors a fleeting comfort against the valley's harshness. Historians still argue whether early humans paused to reflect or were too busy surviving, but you know these moments clarify what matters: the cave, the group, the next dawn. The stick kid stirs, muttering in his sleep, and you adjust his hide, a small act tying you to him. The hunter from stargazing sleeps nearby, her spear close, and you think of the migration. Debate, the new valley still a question. Your ochre bison watches, a symbol of the day's work, and you feel rooted, each task a step toward tomorrow. No matter what the hunt brings. A faint rustle outside, likely a small creature, pricks your ears, but the rock barrier holds, and you relax. The valley's night sounds a familiar lullaby, a joke to keep you drifting. What do cavemen call a good day? One where the fire stays lit and the kids stay quiet. You close your eyes for a moment, the fire's warmth sinking into you, and let the day's victories, the net, the paint, the knots, settle like stones in a stream. The cave breathes, its air thick with shared effort, and you feel ready for sleep. The group's survival, a quiet song in your chest. You glance at the trout basket's remains, the cleaned floor, the mended hides, and know you have done enough for today. The mammoth hunt waits, but here, in the fire's glow, you are whole, the valley's wildness held at bay. You lean closer to the embers, their heat a final comfort, and let your thoughts drift. The day's small triumphs carrying you toward rest, the cave, a fortress of your making. You rest by the fire, the cave's tidy floor and mended hides a testament to your day's work. The valley outside is a silent sea, its night air cool, slipping past the rock barrier with whispers of frost and pine. The group sleeps deeply. The stick kid's twig now loose in his hand, the elder's snores a soft drumbeat. Your spear, freshly carved, lies beside you, and the ochre bison on the wall glows faintly, a guardian of your efforts. Drifting to sleep is next, a final surrender. To the day's end, your body sinking into the cave's embrace. You pull your hide wrap tighter, its warmth a shield, and settle onto a bed of ferns, their earthy scent grounding you. You think of the day, fishing in the stream, painting the bison, tying knots with the kids. Each task, from traps to stew, wove the group closer, a fragile net against the valley's wild. A quirky tidbit: archaeologists have found worn bedding in caves, suggesting early humans crafted cozy nests for rest, not just survival. You fluff the ferns, their softness a luxury, and feel your eyelids grow heavy. The mainstream fact: sleep was vital for Paleolithic health, with studies showing early humans likely slept in sync with night's rhythm, conserving energy for dawn. Why did the caveman love sleep? Because dreams were the only place mammoths did not charge. You smile, the fire's embers a fading glow. Historians still argue whether sleep was solitary or communal. But your group curls close, the cave a shared haven. You think of the mammoth hunt, your traps waiting, and let it go, the valley's quiet taking over. A joke to ease you off: what do cavemen call a good sleep? A night without wolf howls. The fire pops softly, and you drift, the caves. Warmth pulling you under, your breath slows, matching the cave's gentle pulse. The fire's last embers fading into a soft, rosy glow. The valley outside is still, its stars hidden but watching, their light a promise for tomorrow. You sink deeper into the ferns, their scent wrapping you like a memory of the day, the trout, the chants, the stars. The stick kid snores, the elder's steady rhythm, they blend into a lullaby, the cave a cradle in the wild's vast arms. Let your thoughts dissolve, each worry slipping away like water in the stream you fished. The ochre bison stands guard, its lines a story of your day, now fading into dreams. You are safe, the rock barrier solid, the group whole. Sleep comes, a gentle tide, carrying you into the night's embrace, where the valley's whispers soften and all is calm. Rest now, the dawn will wait, its challenges far off, your heart steady in the cave's quiet heart. Asterisk, sweet dreams.